right, so let's get ready to rock and roll. We have a lot of great things. So for those of you who have not met me, my name is Chirag Shah. I'm the founder of Chirag Shah Coaching. My fun fact is I got my real estate license when I was 23 years old, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. If you don't believe me, go into YouTube if you want to laugh and type in Chirag Shah Realtor, and you can see the videos I made 11 years ago. And over the course of my career, coaching has been something I've continued invested in. And, having my own brokerage, I didn't have all these resources and everything Compass had. So I was consistently signing up for coaching programs. And essentially what we built for all of you is what we always wanted, right? We didn't want to know what to do. We really wanted to know how to do it and then remove all of the steps. So to start our conversation off today, it's one of my favorite quotes I think I've heard for the entire year. And the quote said, "What's the difference between smart and really smart people?" Well, smart people are always looking for the next trend, the next fad, Instagram, TikTok, kind of what's going on in the world. And really smart people focus on the things that never change. And when you think about your business, what is one thing that never changes is prospecting. When I think about prospecting, it is the heartbeat and air of your business. Because in the end of the day, if you don't have a consistent flow of new leads, this is what this looks like, right? It's where what I call the real estate roller coaster comes in. It's where a lot of our fear, doubt, worry, anxiety come. I think the part that no one really highlights enough as an agent is literally when you wake up and your day starts and you turn on your computer and you look at this thing, you're spending time, money, and resources on everyone else but yourself, right? So here's some of the general challenges that we find. These are the problems that people have. And a lot of these all start here, right? And when I think about great coaching, it's not about tactics, it's about mindset, not some pie in the sky. I'm going to be great. Everyone's going to answer the phone. Mindset is the ability to think about something differently than you do today, right? Because where we are today is in essence, the culmination of the experiences we've had. So to go past where your capacity is today, you have to go past your thoughts, your beliefs, and the current experiences that you've had. So a lot of times we worry about fear of rejection, right? And this is where I want to talk about problem proliferation. Problem proliferation is a problem of problems. I'm going to call Mike. What happens if Mike doesn't answer? If Mike doesn't answer, I'm not going to have a client. If I don't have any clients, I'm not going to have any money. If I don't have any money, I can't pay my bills. If I can't pay my bills, I can't pay for my house. If I don't have my house, I'm going to be homeless. If I'm homeless, I have no food. If I have no food, I'm homeless. I have no clients. You know the story. Now, all of a sudden, your brain associates making one phone call to all of those different things. Then the second is, it's like ready, aim, fire, right? It's like fire, aim, ready, right? You don't have a systematic approach. You don't have a thought process. You don't have the right messaging. And the fourth one is arguably one of the most important is you don't have the time and priority management. Now, I've said this to a lot of agents this week, whether I'm working with you or some of the professional football players and athletes I work with. If you are out, Miriam, with a client today and you're taking Mike and I to go see a bunch of investment properties and your phone rang, would you answer it? The answer is absolutely not, right? If you're in a listing presentation and your phone rang, would you answer it? The answer is absolutely not. So the question is, why, when you have a block in your calendar to prospect, which is the heart beating in your business and the air you need to breathe today and in the future, you answer your phone? Well, it's time and priority management. And the fifth one is, look, the law of compound effect. It works with interest, it works with your business, and it is the most important principle in prospecting. You quit before it even takes effect. You don't do it long enough for the long-term value. Remember, real estate is an annual business. It's not a 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter. You do the right things over time, it starts compounding. And over the course of the year, you win. And the reality is, why did we come to Compass, right? Systems, systems, systems. The goal of technology is to make your life easier, to provide you more opportunities, more time, and more income. There's no shortage of opportunities on this platform if you know how to use it correctly. on how to get more money. Likely to sell, free seller leads, right? Make me moves, opportunities to get people into a buying and selling conversation, right? Ways that you can use your CRM to leverage yourself, your network, your database to get more business, right? So it's not what, right? What do we do? It's how we really do it and get the most out of the tech that we all came here for. So let me introduce Mike. The best way to explain Mike and prospecting, Mike loves prospecting and lead generation as a couple does their first child that they've been waiting their entire life to have. Mike can talk to you about prospecting all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is arguably, I would say this is his favorite topic, even though he's a national speaker, one of the only people that teach negotiations. He's owned a brokerage, worked as an agent, worked at top brokerage. Mike has 3 decades of real estate experience, but Mike, I'll leave this to you to talk about your passion here.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And welcome, guys. Excited about this topic. It is one of my favorite topics in real estate. I've been in the business for 24 plus years, and I've taught real estate in about 46 states across the country when it comes to sales, negotiation, prospecting, team development, et cetera. So when we look at prospecting, it's a pretty versatile topic. And I think that the general kind of consensus is like, people want to know what really works. What is it that we can focus on? What can we do? Where can I drive business? And so while there are dozens of avenues that can produce a return on your investment in real estate, which of the following 4 things, and I want you to put in the chat your guess, which of the following do you think tops the charts in regards to actual avenues? Number 1, digital leads. Number 2, farming campaigns, mailers, things of that nature. Number 3, sphere of influence. Or number 4, cold lists. That's like for sale by owners, expireds, you're likely to sells, those kinds of things. Put it in the chat real quick. I'd love to see what
Mostly a lot of 3s. Let me see if I can find anything else besides 3 here.
3s.
Right, look at this. Maria Parra, she says number 4, cold list. We got one cold list person here. Most agents at Compass are 3s here.
Okay. Well, I will say that most of you guys are on the right track, right? And while there are always outliers, and we look at, there are teams that really invest heavily into the digital lead world and become really good at it. There are people that are great at expired lists or really working their likely to sells. I'll meet agents that are like, oh, my entire business is referrals, which is kind of a sideways way around saying sphere of influence. But sphere of influence, number 3, guys, it's not even a close second in regards to convertibility. And it really comes down to these 2 questions. It's like, who is more likely, or you have a higher probability of someone who's going to choose to want to work with you or give you an opportunity to interview? Is it going to be an audience who knows you, or is it going to be an audience who doesn't know you? I got to be honest, like that audience who knows you is 3 times more likely to, number 1, include you in the possibility of a hire, meaning that they'll give you the right to interview, et cetera. They're more likely to choose you just right out of the crowd. There's just so many other benefits that come with sphere of influence that it topples all of them. So Chirag led with the quote today. Smart people, they study, what's changing. They're studying constantly trends and new things. And they're like, all right, I want to stay ahead of the curve, and I want to stay ahead of the crowd. Really, really smart people study what never changes. And what has never changed in this business is the success of sphere of influence. I can show you guys time and time again the people that do really, really well with this. And so part of the reason that sphere of influence is so important to us, and what we're going to talk about today, is I'm going to talk about frequency. I'm going to talk about what to say on the phone. I'm going to talk about how to convert. I'm going to give you guys some diagnosis if things aren't working for you, to like ask questions to yourself on. But these are significant touches. The power of these significant touches versus, let's say, just a wheelhouse of cold touches, there's a great deal of positives. They're more personal. You can convey more detail in personal outreach than you can in digital outreach. It builds more trust. In fact, there's a huge compound effect with this in regards to how often sphere of influence will come back to you if you put the time and effort into this. It increases the probability of conversion, and it increased profitability and probability of referrals. So if you look at all the volume that you get from referrals during the year, that will significantly increase if you put all of your focus or a lot of your focus on sphere of influence. I can tell you this, guys, and I'm not a gambling or a betting man, but if I had to put money one agent against another and I said, hey, just focus on sphere of influence your entire year, nothing else, no digital leads, no lists, no other outreach, no ads, nothing paid, just do your sphere of influence. I can put anybody else up against a great agent that focuses on that, and my agent is going to win 10 out of 10 times if they do it the right way. So I'm really passionate about this as being a big option for you guys. So who qualifies as your sphere of influence? Your sphere of influence can best be described as like your friends, family, neighbors. This is going to be business connections of any type. This is past clients. This is any person who, if you saw them out on the street, that you would stop and talk to them with, right? It doesn't have to be this like little corner within your database where you're like, oh, those are my friends and I know them really well. Nope. This is everybody within your database that falls into these kind of categories, okay? Cold would mean someone who does not know you. They've never met you before. They wouldn't recognize you. You wouldn't recognize them. That is not a sphere of influence type individual, okay? When it comes to the Compass CRM, Chirag and really Chirag Shah Coaching has such a grasp on the technology and the tools that Chirag, would you mind popping in and talking about the Compass CRM and really talking about CRM technology in general? Because this is one of your strengths.
Yeah, Mike, you can leave your thing up. I'll tell you when.
Okay.
So when you
no worries.
CRM, right? It turns out that most of us overcomplicate this. Hey, yes, if you look at your CRM, sometimes you just feel like, okay, what do I do? Where do I start? What do I write? How do I think about it, right? And when you think about these words, Mike, you can flip, is everything and all of it, right? Well, we really want you to focus on two parts. I don't care what else you do. If you do these two parts, you win. Does anyone want to guess what those two parts are? And if you're one of our many current clients and community members on here, you should know this. Yes. Tom D. Domenico used it, my man. That's a start, right? Anyone? Likely to sell, organize, past clients, SOI, use it, tag, organize, quality above quantity, groups and tags. So this is the really interesting part, right? So when we get in here, the first part we said is who here feels overwhelmed of what to do, what button to hit, how do I track it, what do I program? There are only two things. Write this down. Logging activity and tasks. And the third one would be notes, right? So let's go through those at a high level. Look, what we have to realize is one day, if you ever have a dream of selling your business, or more importantly, making it profitable today, you need to be able to track the interactions with your clients. It's not like a novel concept. This is not something I imagined. You go into the Four Seasons and I see Bob Gibbs and I'm like, hey, hello, what's your name? Bob Gibbs. Hey, Mr. Gibbs, can you hold on a second? They're typing your name in and you know what they're reading? They're reading the activities and engagements that you've had with them, right? If you ever notice it's like a minute to 2 minutes and you just see them looking at the screen, that's what they're looking at, right? So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So every time you reach out to somebody, you want to log the activity. So you know what your correspondence, what your interactions with, right? Then you get into the next part of this, right? The second part is tasks, right? Now, if you think about this logically, it can be very overwhelming when you're talking to hundreds of different people. What did I say? When did I say it? What do I need to do? Like, what was I supposed to send it? When was I supposed to send it? Anyone ever feel that way, right? Like I'm constantly just doing stuff and I'm just inundated with, I have to give them this and I have to give them this. And, you know, the phone rings. Hey, I was just about to get to that, right? Like it happens to all of us. And I remember being an agent, it happened to me too, right? I don't think anyone's exempt from this feeling, right? There's a certain people that are very organized, but for many of us as business, so many things are happening at once, right? So if you think of the word task, do you know what a task really is? It's a promise you made somebody else. So you can go into the task write what kind of like click the button of what kind of task it is, right? And then here's the key part. You write, I have to send Bob Gibbs 3 contractor recommendations. Now, if I made 10 calls in a day and there are 10 different promises, and I go to the next day and I see all of those things, here's what happens to our brain. It becomes confusing because I don't know what to do. It feels chaotic, which is like overwhelming. And then I go back to certainty. I don't do anything. The 3 C's. And this is what happens to all of us all the time. So the simple workaround to that is send Bob 3 contractors by, and I would put 1 p.m., 10 a.m. And when I talk to Bob, I'm going to get in the habit of saying, hey, Bob, is it all right if I get this to you by 10 a.m. tomorrow? So then you hit the task button when you log into your CRM. It is your free assistant. It's going to organize all of the things that you need to do, and you can look at the times and do them one by one by one, right? Now, the third aspect of this is notes. Anything important people share with you, and look, like success leaves clues. In every transactions, your clients give you all the clues on how to stay in touch with them. Their kids, their hobbies, their friends, their families, where they like to travel, what they're interested in, anniversaries, work. And those are all the all the monumentous occasions that you want to keep in the notes section, right? So now if you look at this, you'll know the type of activities you had with them, whether it was meeting, phone call, email, all of that stuff is there. The notes, right? All the main monumental things that they shared with you, and then tasks, all the things that you did for them. Wouldn't you feel much better servicing somebody knowing that you had a complete profile? And if you did those 3 things, you win. Mike, flip the slide. Now, here's what I don't want you to do, right? If you're in a place, hit yes if you feel like you're in a place where you want to get started. It's a new year coming. You want to master your prospecting, that you want to really have this work for you and avoid this roller coaster, right? Like we all want to move to this. Remember, this is the heartbeat. This is the air of your business, right? Angela, I'm with a hell yes with you. Okay, so here is what to do, and I'm going to tell you first not to do. There are 2 words that are literally the death of productivity and progress. I'm going to do all of it, and I'm going to do everything, which equals I'm going to overwhelm myself and do nothing, right? The goal is not to go from 0 to 100. Small actions done consistently produce oversized results. So as Mike goes into the tactical approach of doing this, if you can log the activities, just take the notes and keep the promises you made to your clients, which are tasks, you win. It is call and interaction by interaction. It's not this massive, I need to organize my entire database. I need to do everything. I need to have it all perfect before I get started. It's like exercising. If you need to exercise, you can literally do 3 minutes of burpees today and you'll be way better off than the gym plan, the meal plan, the supplements, all of these things. Like, do yourselves a favor and just make it easier in 2025. Mike?
Awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. CRM stuff, especially when it comes to, building something that's super efficient. There's really 2, I think, correlative characteristics that we see in success across the board. One is consistency, right? And you're gonna hear that a lot from us today. And the other is systems efficiency. It's like making sure that you have systems and processes, and having not all agents in the country, in fact, very few have the types of systems and technology that you guys have access to. So I think it's really important for you guys to dive in and understand some of those systems because they help you grow. Let's talk about outreach frequency for a minute. Believe it or not, and I'm going to ask this question. I want you to put your answer in the chat. What do you think the number 1 reason is people don't do outreach consistently? What do you think the number 1 reason is that people don't do outreach consistently? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not fear.
All right. Lack of results, nothing to say, too many people, nothing to say, not knowing what to do. They don't hear back. I don't want to bother people. Procrastination, time, unorganized, not organized enough to do it. Lack of a plan, lack of time. Don't want to be bothered. Instagram. I love that.
Love it.
Time management, right? Like a lot of these are mindset issues. Wanting instant gratification.
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys ready for this? Ready for the number 1 thing out there that creates inconsistency with reach outs? You're gonna go, wait, what? It's list management. literally list management. Just roll with me for a second here, and then we'll talk about frequency. When you don't have your list, and I'm talking like your actual full list where you can pull it up and you can spend 20 minutes, and I'm not kidding, 20 minutes going through 10 outreaches per day and knowing, okay, I can do these next 10 tomorrow, and here are the notes, here's my feedback, etc. And I can see that I called this person, 6 weeks ago, and I have this bulletproof all of the time. It's just like a Rolodex that I'm rolling through. When you don't have that, what you end up doing is you end up scrolling. And you might get away with this, guys, for months at a time based on your social habits where you're meeting new people. So you're always feeling like you have people that you're reaching out to and contacting. But if I were to say do 10 reach outs 5 days a week, over and over and over and over and over, that's 50 contacts a week. Boom, 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 boom. 250 contacts every 5 weeks. That is hard to stay consistent for more than a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months down the road without list management. And so what we find is a lot of people either they'll go through little bursts where they're like, okay, I called 20 people and then I kind of ran out of names. And then I find myself scrolling Facebook and scrolling Instagram and going through, and I'm like, oh, I could call this person. But what your brain then feels like is it feels like it's been working on prospecting for hours, and you might spend 2 hours doing this, when realistically your outreach has only been a few minutes worth of productive outreach. And so organizing your list, it's going to be a part of one of our challenges today. Organizing your list is one of the most important things that you can do for your prospecting efforts in order to create a really efficient system so that you can run. I'll give you one more example. My wife is in sales. She's been the top in the country in her field of practice for 9 years running now, right? And every year she kept hitting these stages where she would burn out. She's like, I don't know who else to reach out to. I don't know who to call. And I was like, well, where are you tracking this? She's like, I don't track it. I have social habits that give me enough people every single week to just kind of follow up with. And then I just kind of play it by ear and I feel it out. But she would run through these spurts of burnout. So I said, listen, just for giggles, why don't we sit down? I want you to put a list together. Doesn't have to be everybody. I want you to create a list of 100 people. And I said, for the next month, let's stay consistent on reaching out to these 100 people. She, at the end of that month, felt like she had done more reach outs than she had ever done in her career. Her productivity and conversions for that 1 month, which is a slower month out of the year, was 3 times her highest month of the year, just based on that focus point. And so I know it feels sometimes, guys, like, oh, this is really minor stuff. It's boring. It's not sexy. This is the meat and potatoes that will take you $100,000 more in GCI over the course of 12 months, $250,000, $300,000 more in GCI over the course of 24 months, if you really kind of put this into action. All right. So let's talk frequency. Frequency should take into consideration the following things, like number one, list size, right? The law of recency, which the law of recency states that an individual consumer will remember things, that's names, people, brands, in correlation to the last time they had an impact or an interface with them. And so obviously we want to make sure that we are hitting our social sphere within a period of time so that we are not losing being top of mind, right? And then obviously frequency should be impacted by your own personal goals. My goals are not going to be the same as your goals. I know that we've got over 400 people on this phone call. And so it's one of those things that everyone here, some of you are like, listen, I'm good with $100,000 a year. I'm good with $50,000 a year. Some of you are like, I need to make $750,000 a year. I want to be a 7-figure agent. That is going to dictate your frequency of outreach. And I'm going to give you guys some targets here. Targeting every 30 to 60 days. And I'm going to use the example of 250 contacts because 250 contacts, based on research, is the tipping point for growth for a real estate professional. Okay. I want you to target the metric of 10 reach outs per day, 5 days a week. Now, here's the fun part. If you have a list together, all right, you will not spend more than 20 minutes per day on this outreach. You won't. If you're spending more than 20 minutes, it's because you're getting lots of people on the phone, and that's fine. But these outreaches should not take you more than about 20, 30 minutes per day to get through it. Okay. 250 contacts. If you're that individual though, sitting on the call and you're like, you know what, I don't have 250 contacts. Guess what your first plan of attack is? Go meet a lot of people in your community. You need to commit to that. All right. Look at your list. If you're like, there's 60 people on my list, every single week now, I want you adding 20 people to your list. Because in 10 weeks, which isn't a long time away, right? It's a few months, 2.5 months away. You can add 200 more people to that list. 200 more people to that list. Okay. So out of 250 contacts, I want 10 reach outs per day. I want that 5 times per week. That's 50 contacts per week. And if I'm cycling and recycling through that all through the year, my contacts are going to get touches about every 5 weeks. Now, for some of you, you're like, gosh, that feels like a lot. I promise you, to a consumer who has received 1 outreach 5 weeks ago from you, it is not a lot. In fact, can anybody on this phone, on this call, think about who called you 5 weeks ago? I can't remember who called me last week, to be quite frank, right? So 5 weeks ago will feel distance, but it will keep you in that top of mind with people. So the target is to stay within that 30 to 60 day window and get through your entire sphere of influence list every 30 to 60 days. It shouldn't be any shorter than that. But as I start getting past that 60-day mark, I'm losing the probability of the law of recency. Okay. And Chirag, if we have questions that come in on this, guys, please hit the chat with questions. Happy to address them as we're moving along here. Now, we want to create as much mind share, and if you want to write that word down, you can. It's called mind share within our social sphere as possible. And our sphere of influence is constantly consuming data and things during the day. And so when we do have a contact or a reach out, we want to consume as much mind share as possible for this person. And so I'm going to talk to you about how we increase your response rate. 15 years ago, if I would have called you or sent you an email or sent you a text message, it was amongst maybe the one of half a dozen to a dozen notifications you would get in a day, right? In the entire day. Like you got a couple more emails, maybe you had a few more phone calls, you had some emails or some text messages come through. Like it was about a dozen to 2 dozen touches a day. Right now, if I send a digital communication, I send you a message, a text message, an email. Do you know how many notifications we're getting per hour between Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, email, robo emails now? We've got text messages, we've got phone calls, we've got robo phone calls, we've got Slack, we've got all of our news updates flashing. When you open up your phone, it's like 15 different notifications. It is no longer enough to do a singular outreach attempt using a singular modality and expect there to be a high response rate. I'm going to repeat that. It is no longer effective to use a singular modality in outreach and expect a response. Okay. So that means I want multiple modalities. This is what this is going to look like. I'm going to have my 10 people for that day. I'm going to see their phone numbers. I see the emails. I have their information and data. I'm immediately going to call all 10 people. The likelihood of that I'm going to get anyone on the phone is low. Okay. This is where fortune in the follow-up is like a legit thing. I am going to make that phone call. I'm going to leave a voice message. Hey, it's Mike, just calling. This is a business call. This is no pleasantries. This is no like, well, let me check in on the kids. Nope. I can do that any other time in my life when I see them out and about. I don't have to talk real estate. I can talk about them and their kids and their family. This is a business call. I'm calling to talk about real estate. Okay. Would love to talk to you about your house. Would love to talk to you about a situation. Pick a topic, which I'm going to give you here in a minute. All right. I'm going to leave that voicemail. I'm then going to hang up that phone. I'm going to call all 10 people first because it's faster. I'm then going to go back through and I'm going to text each person. And my text message is real simple. Hey, just left you a voicemail. Would love to chat about again, the topic that I called about, your house, the CMA. I have an idea, whatever it is. It's served as a bumper. Here's what's going to happen during the day. When I see that I get a notification that you text me and I'm not in a position to respond, by the end of the day, I'm like, all right, I missed it. The opportunity's gone. They texted me, I missed it. It's out. If it's just a phone call with no voicemail, I'm like, I don't even know what they wanted. I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day, and that's never going to happen. But when I see that I've missed a phone call, when I see now that I have a notification of a new voicemail, when I see that I also have a text message from you, I now have 3 notifications. That takes up mind share. That's starting to now interface with me in the day. It also has an increased probability of what we call guilt. Unintentional, but it works. There's some reciprocity there. The more guilty I feel that I missed these communications and connections with you, the higher probability of me actually responding and returning your phone call. The more of the mixed modality, the more mind share we grab, also increases the probability of that particular response. Now, don't forget your other monthly communications. So if you are the individual who's running a monthly newsletter, or you're posting on social media and you're being active, those are great. Those are also bumpers. And so, like, picture this for a minute. Let's say your target client, we'll give them a name. Let's say your target client is Jane. And Jane, she wakes up in the morning and she jumps on social media. She sees a post from you. She gets on her email. She sees your monthly newsletter. She sees now that she missed a phone call from you, she missed a text message from you, and she has a voicemail from you. That is significant mind share in regards to brand recognition. Now, what is going to happen for the first 30 days in doing this if you're not used to this kind of volume or outreach? Because I want to set the expectation. Nothing's going to happen. What happens is you build these more sincere personal touches and relationships. It takes 2 months, it takes 3 months. You start to see a higher level volume of responses, of phone calls, of conversions, etc. When you get through that list one time and you start into your second time through that list, that's when you're going to start to see a higher response period. Okay. But you got to stay active with these other things. Now, what do we talk about? Everybody gets hung up on this. And so again, I know we're going to have this recording. You can take out your camera if you want to take a picture of this next slide. I'm going to put some topics up here for you that are great discussion openers. So real estate conversations. Okay. The purpose of these discussions is to stay away from the topic of, let me tell you about me or what makes me special, or, do you know anybody who needs to buy and sell real estate? The absolute worst question you can ask in prospecting or in referring. Okay. Worst question. We're going to talk about why here in a minute. Ask questions. Like, ask for their opinions. And I wish I could highlight that one for you right now. People love giving opinions. They love talking about themselves. They love giving their position. I love saying, what's your opinion of the marketplace? Even if I don't agree, even if they're like, oh, I think it's overblown. Oh, I think, sellers are unrealistic, or buyers are unrealistic, or I hate the mortgage market right now. Listen, these are all ways, guys, that I'm taking a simple conversation and transition it into a real estate topic, right? When I'm calling you on the phone, it's, hey, I'm calling to ask you a question about real estate. I'm taking a little survey. I'm trying to get an idea of what my consumers feel about the marketplace. Would you mind sharing just a few minutes about the real estate market? I'm giving you the opportunity as a consumer to give me your opinion. And maybe in there, you're going to ask me a question about the market, and I get to showcase my particular professional advice. Maybe in this conversation, there's a space in there for me to say, well, is there any other questions that you have? Or is there anything that I can help you with when it comes to the market? These are stationary questions that just kick off the conversation in a direction of real estate. Are you going to come across a lot of people that say, I don't have time for this, Mike, right now? Absolutely. You're going to get a high volume of that, and you need to get used to that with reach outs. But there's a lot of different topics here. What you're going to find is you're going to start to find one or two that become your go-tos, and they're really easy for you to transition conversations in. And once those work, keep with them. Stick with them in your social sphere. But these are real estate conversations that can be super beneficial. So now, how do we convert interest? Because converting interest isn't necessarily just a conversation. And I think that the myth out there is that real estate professionals are waiting for the consumer to now ask for something from us. Well, could you tell me what my home is worth? Or, hey, Mike, I think I'd love to get pre-qualified, or something of that nature. That isn't going to happen. You need to take these conversations and start to convert them into interest. And so what we're going to use here is a technique called suggestive activity. I'm going to say that one more time. We're going to use a tactic called suggestive activity to move people from conversation into an action. The whole purpose of prospecting is to get to a point in which I can be one-on-one with the consumer to be able to really share my advice, my perspective, my services, something that might be beneficial within the real estate world. Suggestive activity does just that. So I've started my call with Jane. Hey, Jane, how's it going? It's Mike Walker. I'm calling actually to talk to you about real estate today. I've been kind of canvassing a lot of my clients, and I would love to understand your opinion about the marketplace. And Jane's talking to me about her opinion a little bit. She's like, I think that it's a little bit overpriced right now. We've considered selling, but we feel like the interest rates are just too high for us to purchase, et cetera. And now I want to take this conversation and shift it into an activity, something that might give me a more personal touch. It might give me a reason to stop by Jane's house. It might be something where I can follow up now that might be more information. And so I'm going to go into suggestions. I'm going to give you guys a few of them here, right? So on a seller side, I could suggest, I'd love to do a CMA on your house and just drop it off. So you have like a real life picture of what this looks like. Maybe in Jane's specific case, I do like a sell to stay analysis, which a sell to stay analysis is just simply pros and cons, right? Of like, if you were to sell your home, what would that financially look like? If you had to then rebuy another one versus staying, what is it that you don't get to take advantage of? What if the market goes back down, et cetera? A sell to stay analysis. Maybe it's an investment discussion. Maybe it's bringing by a stager. Maybe it's reviewing a really specific comparable in their neighborhood that is similar to theirs. I mean, like, I'd love to drop by an analysis of a house that's just like yours that just sold and being able to go that route. If it's a buyer side, show a property for fun. Hey, I'd love, Jane, I'd love to take you out on Saturday. There's a new home development right down the street. Would you like to come and just tour a few properties with me? Right? Get them pre-qualified, investment discussions, send over listings, anything that I can suggest that will move me to another phase of actual activity that is real estate specific. That's how we convert conversations here, right? And so again, you're going to find a few that like really work for you and that are easy for you, and those will be normal for you to be able to transition in conversation. Chirag, how are we doing with questions in the chat, my friend?
I think you've answered a lot of them organically, right? Like,
Okay.
can it only be phone calls? What about if people only like text, they like DMs? You've really hit on that. So keep going along. The other one is, how long should the questions be?
How long
Conversations.
the conversations, as long as the client will go, to be honest. I mean, keep in mind that when you're doing reach outs, most of you are going to be picking timeframes to do reach outs in which it's during the middle of the workday. So if you get somebody live during the workday, you might only have a few minutes to kind of talk about the topic. And it might be more about just setting up time to have a conversation later in the day so that you can ask a question. But a lot of it's going to come down to how much reasonable time does that person have for me on the phone. I would target 2 to 3 minutes to begin with, right? Get their opinion, talk about the market, suggest an activity. Get their opinion, talk about a subject, suggest an activity, right? Because then I can move quickly to the next step. Don't try to sell yourself on the phone. Like that is the most, like, it's just a novice angle because you don't have the time. They're not in a position to hear you. They haven't asked you for anything specific. You haven't given them the opportunity to kind of hear them out. Like, that's why I love opinion-based questions, right? And so I would say keep it pretty short on that first initial touch. And if they elaborate and go into topics and you end up on the phone for 10 to 15 minutes, fantastic. But my focus is getting to that activity stage because that is when I have permission then to drop something off at their house. I can interface. I can have a longer conversation. Those are also hits that show me that there's strong interest. Okay. Diagnosing poor results. I think this is just as important as it is of knowing what to do or how to do outreach is understanding how to diagnose like a poor situation. You need to know what is failing and you need to know how to improve or handle those situations. And so when we look at reach outs, there are 5 things and only 5 things that if someone checks the box yes to, I can promise you they will see results time and time and time and time again. 5 things. So if I were to sit down with someone who says, Mike, I've been doing the social sphere thing now for 2 months and I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting any conversions. I'm not into any activity. Like no one seems to be calling me back. Then I'm going to go through this list. This will be how I diagnose this issue within a sales field. Very first question I'll say is, have you been doing your 10 reach outs a day? If the answer is no, and like legitimately be honest with yourself, right? No, I don't get to the 10 a day. Then we need to get back to that. Nothing else matters. A little burst of 20 in one day does not create consistency for you, right? So 10 a day, boom, 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 boom. Even your most chaotic days, I need 10 reach outs. Then I might go to, okay, well, are there multiple mediums? Have you been using both the phone call, voicemail with text message follow-up? Well, I'm not very good. Okay, well, then we're focused right there. If any of these are no's, we stop. If any of these are no's, we stop. Are you getting 5 days a week? Yes, I'm getting 5 days a week. Yes, I'm getting multiple mediums. Yes, I'm getting my 10 reach outs. Great. Well, then how's our messaging? And now I'm looking at like, what are you saying? And I'm looking at words. I'm not looking at squat if the top 3 guys aren't yeses. I don't care what you're saying yet because your volume's not there yet. Consistency's not there yet, right? How's my messaging? What am I saying? Am I posing a question? Am I suggesting activities or services that I could provide that might move us to a next step? And if they're like, yeah, I'm saying all those things, then I'm going to the last one. And this is the kicker, is what is your beingness? And this is your attitude. This is the presence that you bring to a phone call. And you guys know this, like you'll talk to somebody and like, man, this guy's excited. He's just passionate about what he's doing. People want to work with him. He's confident. He's excited. He's assertive. He's got all of those factors and characteristics that you're like, I really want in a professional that I would follow. You also know the person that's like, hey, this is Mary. Am I bothering you right now? It's like, yes, Mary, you're bothering me. And that's why you're not getting any results. Does that make sense? And so we go through these situations. One of these 5 things, guys, determines 100% of those results. Like these are all the things. Now I can look and say, okay, let's say you say, Mike, no, I'm not getting to either the outreach or the consistency, or I don't believe in my messaging. Then I can look at these and say, okay, if it's the average number or the days or the message, then I go to these 3 things and I say, okay, is my list complete? Do I have an actual list where I'm following it? Because if not, I'm probably getting stuck not knowing who to call. I'm probably getting stuck in the mental thought of, I'm going to run out of people. And so I kind of stall. I might not believe in my call approach, right? If I'm paused on calling people, it could be that I don't believe in the message, or I haven't figured out the approach yet that makes me feel confident to pick up and call people during their workday. That's a big one for people. If it's the beingness part, it's just a little harder to diagnose through questions. What am I doing before I make calls? Like, is it chaos? Do you have kids around? Are you in traffic? Did you just come out of the gym? Like, what state of mind are you in before you start to dial? Because you want to be in a great state of mind. You want to be positive. You want to be excited. You want to be in an environment that makes you feel confident, like you're a lion. Like this is you being able to really now sincerely and authentically reach out to other people. And then what are the other emotional stopgaps? And this is where, again, you have to be vulnerable. Like, do you have imposter syndrome? Do you have, situations where you're like, people aren't going to take me serious? Or maybe you came from a career, guys, before where it was a big time career and you're a little embarrassed now that you're reaching out to your social sphere because you used to be a CFO. And now you don't feel like, as a real estate professional, you feel, like people are going to take you seriously. These are all real things that I encounter with real estate agents throughout the year. So this is how we diagnose. And so it's really important to understand like how to look at your stopgaps and be like, okay, which ones am I not doing? And how do I improve those situations so I can get to that point where I'm going to start to see consistent turnover. I'm going to see consistent conversion. I'm going to see consistent outreach. I'm going to see consistent success with my prospecting. Okay. So here's our challenge for today. And then I'll answer some questions from you guys. Taking action from a challenge standpoint, we love leaving you guys with things that you can take back to the real world and say, hey, I'm ready to rock and roll. Part one of this is to organize your contacts if you have never done it. So I'm going to give you 4 little steps to organize, or 3 little steps to organize your contacts. The first one is export the sources all into individual sheets. I'm going to give you the 3 primary sources that I would export. And again, I'm an iPhone guy, so you can fill an iPhone for smartphone. But the very first thing I'm going to export is my iPhone contacts. I'm going to export it into a CSV file or some sort of like Excel sheet file. I'm then going to export my Gmail, all my contacts that I have from Google, if I have a Gmail account, or Yahoo or AOL or whatever your index is. And then my last one is going to be my LinkedIn contacts. Facebook you can do, but it's a third-party app that's required in order to get them, okay? And what I'm going to do is I have now 3 different sheets. I'm now going to combine all of the data that's important from those sheets, which is name, email, phone number, and probably area, like location, because not everybody in my sphere of influence is going to live in my region, right? I'm going to put all of those now onto a master sheet. And what I'm going to do at that stage is I'm going to be able to see exactly where I'm missing data. Like people that don't have phone numbers, people that don't have emails. I might have an assistant. I might have myself. I might have a virtual assistant. Research as much of that missing data as possible, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to segment. I'm going to say, okay, anybody who's not within my area of selling, like they're outside of my state, I'm not licensed in their world, I'm taking them off of this list. And I now have my sphere of influence list, okay? Again, your target should be 250 contacts. If you don't have 250 contacts and you go, oh, Mike, I've got 150, then over the next 2 months, every single week, your goal is to add 10 to 20 people to your list every single week. That's networking events. That's the grocery store. That's the coffee shop. That's the networking groups. That's the parent teacher conferences and your kids things. Like you're adding contacts until you get to 250 people. That's challenge part 1. Okay. If you're like, hey, Mike, already got it. I have got a very efficient system. I have got, 425 contacts in my sphere of influence. I'm ready to go. Great. Then your challenge, or part 2 for everybody, is to assess or diagnose your own prospecting efforts using that diagnostic approach. Like if you are not getting the results, I want you to go through those 5 questions and figure out like, okay, where am I short? Am I making 10 outreaches a day? Am I doing it 5 days a week? Do I feel good in regards to the messaging? What's my beingness? Am I using multiple modalities? Because if you hit all 5 of those, you're really being honest with the 5 of those, and you're really doing those things, you're going to be seeing crazy results out of it, especially over the course of a 12-month period. Questions? What do we got here, Chirag? Anything that popped in, guys? If you have other questions, great time to ask it right now.
Well, some of the things is this seems like a lot, and I was just reinforcing, just get started somewhere, right? Like one at a time.
That makes sense. And I'll tell you, it's kind of like that 0 to 100 slide that Chirag, you were talking about with the CRM. It's like start somewhere. Like at very minimum, guys, I'm telling you, if you had to take on one project for the next month that would help you in 2025, it would be to organize your list. Because once the list is organized and you have all of your contacts and you've got phone numbers and you've got email addresses and you've got everything in one place, I'm talking to everybody in your world. And that way, then every time you meet new people, you know where you're putting them, right? Even if it's not into the CRM system, if you're just using an Excel sheet to start with, right? Just do that alone and you're going to be in a great space moving into 2025. And then it's just starting calls, starting your outreach.
Here's there are a lot of these coming in. What to do if someone has way more than 250 contacts, but some aren't valuable? How do you prioritize?
How do you prioritize? Okay. So you can prioritize from an aspect of relationship, but here's where I would be really cautious about actually prioritizing anything. If you have, let's say, 2,000 people that are within your social sphere, like literally what you've considered like your marketplace, and you've met these people, they would recognize you, et cetera. Not just like I took a bunch of business cards at a networking event and put them all into my CRM so that I could market or prospect people. I'm talking like people that you've met, right? If you've got like 2,000 people, then what you do is you normally would have a really solid email and mailer campaign that is going to go out to everybody every single month. I want at least an email. I want a handwritten letter. And there's all kinds of technology, guys, today where literally I can put names and addresses or things. I can have handwritten letters sent on my behalf that are actually handwritten, right? There's all kinds of services that help with that. And then you've just got to really dedicate yourself to cycling through your list. You got to get through that list at least twice a year if you've got that many contacts. But that's tough because at that many contacts, you do have to then look at it and say, okay, who's really the priority? Well, you may have to go through trying to figure out who's the priority. Is it go through 2,000 names and figure out like, which ones do I really know? Put a number 1 next to them. Which ones do I kind of know? Put number 2 next to them. And which ones that like, I don't remember them based on name recognition at all. Put number 3, delete all the 3s, right? Just put them on your email list or something like that. And then call your 1s and 2s. Start with your 1s, see how many that leaves you with, etc. So ways to wean that down.
Exactly. Look, I think the overwhelming thing is, and I keep going, I'll just say is this is, for all of us to keep asking these questions is exactly why you need a structured approach and a system to follow, as we touched upon in the beginning. And Mike's going to talk about that next.
Yeah. So, I mean, for many of you, like, we hope that you got something great that you were able to take away from this training. I know it's a short training, but we hope that there's something actionable that you can always take away from our interactions. And I think that there's probably some of you out there that really feel like, hey, I can go and put this entire thing into work. There's a group of people on this call that also are like, you know what, I want more assistance with that. I want help building that out. I want support with that. And so we always talk a little bit about our programs and how we can support with prospecting efforts at the end of these trainings. And one of the, I think, glaring issues with real estate right now that we try to address the most is that 87% of our licensee population in the United States fails before their 5-year mark. That is incredibly, incredibly scary to me, because what that means is that there's a lot of people coming in with an expectation that doesn't get met, or that they're anticipating certain things that just don't happen. Like, it's harder than it looks, if you've ever heard that before, right? And so we've really looked at that and said, okay, as a coaching company, how do we assess this on a day-to-day basis? And what we find is that agents get caught. You guys are all terribly busy with just running a business, right? Like, think about how many things you're carrying every single day. You're carrying the responsibility of prospecting, business development, admin, client nurturing, working actual transactions to get a paycheck, your listing marketing, your buyer research, your customer service and nurturing. All of that stuff is like crazy to me. And so it doesn't surprise me when I experience agents going in these ups and downs income periods and then experiencing burnout and just flatlining because they run out of energy, they run out of gas. But what we've noticed, and I mentioned this about 10 minutes ago, was that there are 2 things that really relate to success in real estate. And if you have these 2 kind of elements, they really mean success for an agent's business. And that is consistency in practice and systems that will help handle a lot of those kinds of machines or systems that have to operate simultaneously in order for your business to keep running. Most of you, in fact, joined Compass because of that. You joined this brokerage because it has a $1.6 billion technology platform that provides you with those systems that are really necessary. In fact, I think it's almost like, I don't know how agents can operate without it. It's really necessary in order for you to have success. But with technology comes complexity, right? So I also understand that sometimes that stuff is difficult to learn. So we have a program called our Revenue Roadmap, our 2025 Revenue Roadmap. And what we've learned is that if we provide those systems and that consistency to agents, along with the focused environment of education on things that we know that are important to you, we see repetitive success within our clients. And so our program includes 4 different 12-week tracks that repeat one after another. The first is a prospecting track. It's a It's a very big giant of what you just experienced in 45 minutes, which is teaching you how to attract more clients with clarity, streamline your operations, really build consistent pipeline, unlock your potential. It includes a 12-week track on buyer representation. It includes a 12-week track on seller representation. And if you're a team leader, it actually has a very specific track that is specific for team leads that helps you recruit with clarity, enhance team productivity, and really just build a profitable team. So we have a specific track for that. And so if you jump into this program, you can spend 12 weeks on prospecting, spend the next 12 weeks on the buyer side, spend the next 12 weeks on the seller side. Once you have a membership, you have access to everything for the entire year. When we looked at all of this, and we've gotten feedback from clients over, I mean, between, I think everyone here at Chirag Shah Coaching, we have about 100 years worth of real estate experience. What we noticed though, is that just providing you education like we've done today is never enough. And so what we developed was an understanding that a part of each of these teaching sessions had to have some accountability. And so what we've created are these accountability groups that are peer-led by fellow Compass agents. They're held weekly to help apply the learned concepts of whatever track you're in. So if you were in a prospecting track, after a learning session, you'd have an accountability session to talk about how do you apply the things that were learned that day. And it's also a great way to just build your Compass agent referral network. So these accountability groups are really, really important. The other things that are unique about our program, Compass Marketing Center integration. We have lots of templates and presentations that are now integrated into the Compass Marketing Centers that you have immediate access to it. Every single training, we help you understand how to better use the Compass platform. We're really big on technology, and we're very, very big on Compass. We're also one of the only exclusive Compass coaching companies out there. ChatGPT, if you are an AI person and you're like, oh, I really want to know how to be more advanced with AI, our ChatGPT integration, we are teaching in almost every single session across all of our tracks how to better use chat in integration. That's providing prompts and prompt takeaways. Lots of start to finish systems. And again, we're only for Compass agents. This is not something where you would see a Keller Williams agent or a Coldwell Banker agent or some other agent in. This is 100% only Compass agents that we serve. Purpose of the program, guys, if I had to summarize all of it, it's year-round revenue. It's to increase profit, right? We want to create an efficiency with your systems and give you guys more agent-to-agent referrals, because I think, and Chirag, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it about 1 out of every 5 transactions right now is an agent referral? Is that the right?
Yep, just about. So if you're not getting agent-to-agent referrals, you need to get in the right community.
And team leaders, this is your membership actually includes up to 10 team members. And so this is a great place to have your team get coached throughout the entire year while you also develop as a team lead, or spend time on other systems and admin and growth and development that you've been trying to free up time for. So this is a great program for team leads specifically. Here's the investment. Individual agent. The cost is $3,500 if you pay in full, or it's 12 payments of $400. Okay. If you are a team lead, it's $5,500, or it is $625 per month for 12 payments. That includes, again, up to 10 team members. If I were to break that down and analyze it, there'd be a lot of benefit, but we're also a part of the bonus that we want to make sure that people take advantage of before the start of the year is we want to give you time with Chirag, like one-on-one sessions. These are private coaching calls with Chirag. So anyone who signs up for the program between now and next Tuesday, that's the 17th of December, is going to also get a one-on-one coaching session with Chirag to really understand like your goals. Chirag, can you tell them a little bit about the one-on-one session, in fact, with you?
Yeah, so one of our goals was to engage and interact more with everybody, right? So I wanted, for the people that really wanted to dive in, and it doesn't have to be next week, it can be over the course of the year, to really get to know you, your business. And with the use of technology, our individual clients only pay $3,000 a month. I see several of them here for 30 calls. So I will have an intake form that I can learn you, your business, your goals, your wishes, your wants, your desires. And in our session, we're going to dive in, and whatever you want to be able to work on individually, personalized to you, your market, Sometimes it's mindset, sometimes it's tactics, sometimes it's systems. We've done about maybe 40, Mike, 50 of these calls, and we've been able to get through everyone's intake form. So it's really a personalized approach, and every person will walk away with something tangible that they can use.
Yeah, I love it. Return on investment, people like to use comparisons and compare and like, okay, so if you're an individual agent, you pay the $3,500. One transaction for an individual agent is a 417% return on investment. Like, I don't know anything else in marketing, prospecting, anything where I can invest and get a 200 to 400% return on investment. And team leads, this is throughout an entire team. That's just one deal. If one team member does one extra deal, it's a 227% return on investment. And that's based on, guys, a baseline of a $500 transaction. So I'm going to put this up. I know, Chirag, maybe you can put in the chat links to this. We will also send out some emails. I will send out the recording for this training so that you have access to it. You can see some of the slides. You'll also have a few emails that come that remind you of the bonus and give you links on being able to purchase. But if you want to take a screenshot of this, you also then have the QR codes to be able to go register and sign up right now. So we love it. If you have additional questions, it's a great time to ask, because I know we do get people that ask questions. Chirag, you want to take it away there?
You know, what I always find is there's about 300 of you here. So you've identified yourself as, I'm interested, I'm thinking about it. But really where we want to be helpful here is your personal challenges, right? It always takes a few questions, and then this becomes a really interesting collaborative conversation. Will it work for me? Is it for my market? Is it for my clients? Do I have enough time, right? These are the things that generally get us stuck. And you know, what I would love to see for all entrepreneurs across the entire industry is investing money to save time versus spending time to save money, right? If you went to a prospecting session and an accountability session for 1 hour a week throughout the entire year, your business would grow, right? So if you spent the minimum of an hour a week and then actually did the work, your business would go 100%. I think the challenge that we all have here is we attribute, I need to go to all of the sessions and then try to do all of this stuff. And, you know, real estate's like this infinite game that just keeps going and going and going. And the goal is like just to keep growing incrementally year after year, where over time you can outpace the entire market, right? What if we do buyer, seller, and prospecting? That's a great question, Diana. You're going to want to, I kind of say major, minor, right? Your major for everyone, because it's a heartbeat and air of your business should be prospecting, right? And then if you want to supplement it with one minor of a buyer or seller, but we are highly recommending people not to do all three, right? Because they go over and over. And again, like mastering the things that never change. If you look at a buyer or seller checklist, it is many pages long, right? If you look at Steph Curry, who's one of the best free throw shooters in the world, he's still practicing that same free throw 5 days a week, right? And I think that we all have to get in building the habits, the consistencies, and the systems. And the nice part is we give you the system, right? So there's nothing to create. The systems, the scripts, the words to say, everything's integrated into your marketing center. So you have polished presentations that stand out and it's different. So you just have to show up and just do the work. So I have a question here. So one of the questions here is about prospecting, right? I sit in front of a computer. I really don't know what to do. And it makes me frustrated because any business plan will work if I don't prospect. It's your training on something that helps you. Mike, we talk about how the prospecting track will work within this program.
Yeah, and I'll elaborate on the tracks in general. Like, think of it this way. And again, because your time is also really, really, really already important. When you get involved in the program, as Chirag kind of emphasized, we like to say pick one track to start with. And so if the prospecting track, you say, I'm going to jump into the prospecting track, that prospecting track is going to start with organizing lists. And I'm talking about export instructions, going through application, getting it ready to go, supercharging your ability to do reach outs, and getting you into the day-to-day activity of actually calling, texting, communicating with your sphere of influence. Then as it kind of gets through that, it starts to also then elaborate on other avenues of prospecting, whether it's how to convert certain things, actions, and activities that are within a transaction, open houses, door knocking, circle prospecting. We talk about digital lead conversion in the prospecting track. We talk about farming and mailing systems and how to stay consistent, really how to focus your attention with those. And at the end of the 12 weeks, the hope is that not only have you created a really good habit of that sphere of influence outreach, but that you've also become very educated and more confident on how to convert at a high level other activities that are consistent with growing a real estate business. And so you finish that 12-week track where you've got accountability every single week, and accountability, peer-led accountability group leaders. You go, okay, I'm done with prospecting. There's a week break. Everybody gets a week break. We kind of give you an idea again about what each track has in it, and then you pick your next track. You're like, okay, I think I want to switch over now to buyer. Or you could say, you know what, I want to go right through that prospecting track again. I'm going to jump right back into that. So while you are not prohibited from every week going, oh, I'm in the prospecting track and I'm in the buyer track and I'm in the seller track, understand that the real application of this stuff takes time. Like, it's a commitment. And so if you're just there to hear things, fine, you can be a part of any track you want to be a part of, it as many as you want. But if you're really looking to develop into an expert buyer rep or an expert listing agent, or you really want to drive more prospecting, you want to spend time on just that one individual track.
I think the other part too that we all want to realize is real estate is the last industry to adopt anything, right? Like, think about when Zillow reviews came out. It's like the biggest thing in the world, and Google reviews had been out for many years. So right now I look at it like this: the difference between an agent that uses AI and doesn't use AI it's marginal right now. But as you look at time, agents that use AI and ChatGPT and other platforms like that will work faster, they'll be more productive, we'll have higher output, we'll earn more money, we'll work less time and have more free time, right? So if you're one of our clients in here, you could see how we integrated how to use ChatGPT to literally come up with the comments in your collections where you could expand the amount of people that you work with, expand the level of service. And, look, we try to always keep you ahead of everybody else, right? So again, like, our program is not about what to do. We want to show you how to do it and then make sure that you follow through, right? Some of the things that we added in, like, we hired a head of happiness, right? We know that over a year that people get lost, and her whole job is engaging with all of you and making sure that the things that you want are easy, they're accessible, that we can check in on you if somebody disappears, because we know 1 to 2 weeks, a month, they're like, well, I feel behind, I don't want to go. And that was also one of the things about the tracks reoccurring, right? Like, if we made a year-long program, you miss a month, you feel like, all right, I'm never going to catch up, right? There is an annual event where we're going to have an annual event very similar to a Compass Retreat just for the Chirag Shah Coaching clients, right? Because that whole 1 out of every 5 deals as a Compass agent is real. I have agents I coach that do 7 figures in GCI, and 80% of their business is Compass agent referrals, right? Yeah. So, if you look at it, the thing that scares me, Mike, I would say most in the world, is for an agent, this is less than $10 a day. And right. As people, I'm always encouraging people when they look in the mirror to see that person in the mirror is the greatest investment they'll ever make. We'll spend money on dinner, clothes, shoes, bags, cars, everything else, but ourself is generally somewhere on the bottom, and it's an overcomplicated thought, right? So look, I think this is the year to really separate yourself with everyone else. I think this whole NAR settlement has really leveled the playing field, and you can see from our existing people that we've worked with just how much being an expert agent, knowing what to say, when to say it, having the right materials, and having all that pressure off of you translates into growing your business, right? Yeah. Because the most valuable thing that you have is your skill set. The one thing that no one is working on is your skill set, right? So in speaking to thousands of agents, Compass leadership, sales managers alike, like, this is really the opportunity, right? Because prospecting, working with buyers, working with sellers is never going to change. And when you're in a world now where people really want you to be able to quantify what they're getting in exchange for the compensation, this is where mastering the transaction. And I always say the best form of prospecting is luxury client experience. Right? So who has a question about how would this work for them? Right? There's still 200 of you here. So there's something that you want to hear, something you're thinking about, something that's pressing on you. It could even be, how does this work for me? Like I have this one situation, like how would your program solve my challenge, right? So feel free to ask. Mike and I are here to help you, to support you, to answer any questions you have as you've taken the time to still stay on. And if you don't want to have any questions, like we'll leave it open for another minute or two. Would the billing be via through the office? Through our office? Tammy, I'm not really sure what your question is. You're welcome, Teresa, and we'll see you at our holiday party on Thursday. Lenny has a question. Go ahead, Lenny.
Oh, you know what, Lenny? I mean, if I need to turn on their ability to unmute themselves.
Or I could ask to unmute. There we go.
There we go. Now you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
So,
Hi, this is Tammy really quickly. My question is, if we signed up, in terms of the payment, is that billed monthly with our fees basically through our office, or is that a separate billing from what we would normally do?
It's separate
Or,
billing.
you know,
We're a third-party company. I've worked at Compass both as an employee and now externally for 4 years. So we are our own entity, even though we only work with Compass agents. So you would get billed and charged through our company. We got some questions coming in, right?
And let me address Daniel Ripper. How do we feel about agents in multiple coaching companies? I have no issues with it. I think that, you know, when we look at agents in general, one of the spectacles that I see that I'm always kind of questioning, right, is I see agents that go to conferences and they go to, you know, you have a lot of great information in front of you. What is it going to take to be able to put some of that into action? And that's where, you know, what I feel like our program does from an accountability standpoint is help you actually put what you're learning into action and then hold you true to the things that you say that you want to set up. And so that's different than other environments where it's just, you know, sessions and access to templates and things of that nature. So, I mean, never do we have an issue with multiple coaching company, you know, agents that they're involved in a lot of things. My question to you would just be, you know, what is it you feel like you're missing that is gonna perpetuate that into really moving a lot of that information forward?
And Jimmy has another question is only one track available every 12 weeks? You can take two. Look, you have access to all of the sessions, right? And for the team leaders on here, there is a team leader track on recruiting, on leadership, on building your value proposition. I always say that you should not do all three at once, right? Because you're never going to do the work outside of there because you're already busy. Like if you're going to take two classes, make sure you're disciplined in your schedule to have time to actually do the work, right? It's not about how many sessions you attend. It's how much of the work you do based on the information you have. That's where we find the gap is, right?
Yeah. And that's the similar question to what I think Alice had, which is, you know, yes, we recommend 1 12-week track at a time, but obviously we've made this an annual program so that you have the ability to consume the amount of data and information within all of our tracks, you know, across the course of a 12-month period. And so there is a 1-week break in between each of these tracks for people to kind of just digress, take a little break from sessions, and then get back into like their next 12-week track. So we encourage it. That's how we recommend it. But as Chirag mentioned, you always have access to all of the sessions every single week if you wanted to bounce in and out.
Yeah. You know, I think the big thing too is look, like we will release the schedule, and like if you find one session in the seller track, like, you know what, I do this well, but I really want to know how to do my listing presentation better. Like just be smart and strategic about it. But in the end, excuse me, the resources and tools you need are there. They're given to you. And we have an amazing community. Our accountability leaders have been in our program many years. I see people on here like Leslie. I know you're in accountability group, and it's something that really builds community, referrals, right? So if you think about it, attention, I heard it in the main session, retention, I'm practicing in a group of people, right? Repetition, we help you build relationships outside of their role playing practice. So the system works, right? So for 4 years, we've been refining this program. And, you know, as Mike and I say, this is what we feel is the greatest session, right? So somebody just wrote into the chat, how have you integrated AI into your business? Well, that's a great question. right? We've built an AI search tool, which will allow you to find anything really easy. If you know Chris Smith, who wrote the conversion code, was a co-founder of Curator. Chris and I partnered together to build an AI coach for all of you, which will offer you real-time support based on our content, which we're going to have released at early 2025 at some point that we're working through. So look, we're using this in every aspect, and some of our clients always say that they enjoy the most. The same things that we're telling you to do in your business, we're doing on ours, right? So what I want to leave you with is this thought of what's the difference between growth and scale, right? Growth is more manual effort. Just I'm going to do more to get more, which leads to burnout, frustration, and just putting in more time. If you're looking for a year where you want to apply consistency, system, and scale, which is through people, then this is perfect for all of you, right? So, we always say that we want to teach you how to build a business that fits into your life, right? And without a system, it's like your phone's ping, dinging, ringing all day. You're overwhelmed. You're frustrated. Like Mike said, you have all these things going on in the background. We just want to make it easier for you. Can you please repeat the duration of the coaching program? It's a year, right? It is a year-long program because we find that people in a year, Mike, and explain to them what our philosophy is on why a year, not 60 days, a 30-day program, a 90-day.
Yeah, because habits don't form that quick. Like, straightforward. If you go and learn something at a conference, even spend a week at your office in a boot camp on something, there's going to be a little retainment. You're going to get a little bit of it, but you're not going to have an environment that then keeps you committed to a system or an approach. And so when you're in something for an entire 12 months, you have access and you're going to be influenced to stay accountable for an entire 12 months. And it's much more probable that you're going to create the necessary habits. Again, there's two things that matter: consistency and systems. That's it. Consistency and systems. And so if you can create those two, right, you're going to be in a really, really good position as a professional. And it's really tough to do that in 60 to 90 days.
So someone else wrote in here to me about the coaching call. Is the coaching call really with you? Yes, the coaching call is really with me, right? I want to do these calls. Our team and Mike had come up with this as an idea, and it's perfect. Like throughout the year, we get hundreds of emails. Chirag, what would you say? What would you do? How would I challenge? How do I address this challenge, right? So we can work on whatever you want to work on. But in 17,000 hours of coaching Compass agents, what I found is how it translates to your experiences is we can get through so much information and things. I have taken some of these calls. Well, what have you done on these coaching calls? There was one of our clients that joined. It was really interesting. She was a designer transitioning into real estate. So me, her, and ChatGPT, we built out an entire positioning campaign where she was going to offer her design service as part of it. So we built out a whole newsletter, right? For many months. There's another woman who was a stager that had a similar thing. So we built upon the 11,000 plus homes she staged and talked about different ways for people. Like staging is also a form of design and decoration, right? So whether it's writing out emails, going through your actual presentation, team structure, objection handling, some people just want to know, build out their schedule, right? We've had some people with blank calendars that I've sat there and gone through with them. So, it's important to understand what you really need, and it's an opportunity over the course of the year, and you don't have to use it right away, right? We're scheduling the calls out throughout the year, and as time comes, we know the market's going to change, the interest rate's going to change, different things are going to happen. So I have another question. You get access to all the tracks for an entire year. Is it $400 a month or $3,500 upfront per individual agent? Yes, you have access to all of this stuff. Look, we want to give you all this stuff, and then our goal is to make sure that you use all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like having this stuff doesn't really matter. If anyone that knows me here, the only thing I care about in this weird obsession is what you do after the call. So someone just sent me, I desperately need help with consistency. You need to show up. You need to be in the right accountability group. You need to find a group of people. Look, we have people in this group for years that literally hop on Zoom every day and just mute their screens and prospect together, right?
Yeah.
Like we have people that handle objections together. We have people that are in offices that do coaching together and are like, we're going to collaborate over compete, meaning if we ever get the same client, we just go broke. Like it's really simple if you allow it to be.
Yep.
Does anyone have any more questions? There's still 100 plus of you here, right? So that means to me, I'm going to be simple and direct with you. You want to sign up. There's something in your brain that's resisting you to sign up. So this is your chance to ask and make it personal more than like a website or an email or talking to our team, right? Like, look, for anyone out there about like finances, just do the monthly option, right? It comes out to like $13 a day, right? It's cheaper than a salad. Yes, this is only for Compass agents, right? So if you leave Compass, you'll get a credit, and I generally make it up with one-on-one coaching sessions to people, right? But generally speaking, people that use our program plus the platform never leave because we give you a prescriptive use of making. You got to remember, my 17,000 hours here allows me to tell you what the best agents in America at Compass are doing to use the platform to grow their business and make money. It's the benefit of working with a brokerage exclusive company because we know how the tools work. Robert was in my office 2 weeks ago making videos, sharing about all the things that were coming next and asking me for feedback and input. Like, look, if you're a Compass agent, you want more referrals, you want to grow your business, and more importantly, you want to have more free time and make your life easier, this is for you. If you're the kind of person that's resistant, that doesn't want to change, that doesn't want to be accountable to yourself and the promises you make, it's easy. This is not for you. We have a collaborative community of happy people, I would say, right? And a testament to that is like Lenny's a client, he signed up for next year and he's still here, right? Leslie's been in our program, she's still here. And like, if I go through this list, there are more and more people here. Luciana has been working with me since COVID and she's still here, right? And like, you can reach out to hundreds of people around the country, and they'll all tell you the same thing. If you do the work, it works, right? And I'm excited about all the AI integrations. I'm most excited about our first annual like CSC retreat, right? We'll have hundreds of you in some city in America, which we bring life. And it is like a retreat. People throw parties, we integrate with the local offices.
Yeah. So let me, and Tim, I think this is a great context question, right? And Tim just put in the chat, he said, can you explain what the sessions are like? Is the sessions, are they Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on which track you're in? Like this webinar, is it a big group listening to one of the coaches? And then is like the second session more like a smaller group, more interactive? The accountability sessions are definitely more interactive, right? Like we want to make sure that we're teaching and providing lesson information, but those calls, during the week are still interactive, but we do have the responsibility to deliver, an actual educational prescription, per se. And so then when you get to that accountability session, that's where the encouragement is not just to be involved in that session, but it's to also not stop after that session. It's to pair up, it's to link up, it's to create, little pods and groups outside of that accountability group where you can continue your learning beyond just the format of the program. And one of the things that I want to say is that there's a lot of stuff that we are not talking about, a lot. And we won't talk about because we don't want to confuse, the value. Like the value is learning how to be a better buyer representation, how to be a master listing agent, how to really generate a consistent business and profitability throughout the year. Those are the major nuts and bolts of the program.
And for teams too, Mike.
Yes, and for teams. But there are so many other resources that you have access to within this program. We don't want to complicate that on a call. So those sessions are absolutely more, they're designed to be more involved, and they're there to encourage you to create relationships within that accountability group and move that conversation even outside of the context of just those 2 calls every week, so that you have team members and people to ask questions to and overcome objections, as Chirag kind of talked about. So we do have to wrap this up though, because we have a 2:30 as well. So we've got a
few more minutes. Final
minutes,
chance.
guys.
Anybody else? One, as I always say, time is the greatest investment you can make. So we appreciate you investing your time with us. And look, with love in my heart, I love you all. And look, I hope as the holidays come, you can gear up and set yourself up for an amazing 2025. Please, for the love of God, disconnect with this thing. Your kids, your family spell the word love with the word attention, right? Like be present, be focused, enjoy what you worked on. If it's a great year, celebrate. If it hasn't been a great year, that's okay too, because the people around you love you for you, right? So I think the most important thing is just taking a step back and just realizing that we have so much to be grateful for, right? And if we could end the year with that energy and looking at what we have and not how weird and wonky this year was, where our numbers are up. Look, life goes up and life goes down, but the people around you, you want to get the most out of the time that you have. And there's a difference between sharing space with somebody and being present. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm often talking about these kinds of things. Like, yes, I do care about life and fulfillment and just ultimately all of you being happy. Like, that's who I am as a person. So it's a really special time coming up. And I dropped in here, like, kind of like what our schedule is. And look, I'm going to put my email here in here. Like, this is my email. If you email me and you have a question, you can ask your question. If you want me to call you to talk to me like a normal person, right? Just send an email and write in the subject line, call, and just put your phone number. And I will find time, pick up the phone, and call you. It's that simple. We believe and stand what we do. And look, happy holidays, everybody. And thank you so much. And Mike, I think your love for prospecting has really showed today.
I appreciate that.
So we'll see you all soon, and happy holidays. Bye, everybody.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thanks again, guys.
Bye-bye.